everyone, this is Alicette, and you are about to watch a message that was preached at Next, Calvary's Young Adults Ministry here in Miramar, Florida. We hope you enjoy.
What's up, Next? Okay. Yeah. Listen, if you were here on Sunday, I preached 4 messages, and by the end of it, I blew out my voice, which was really interesting. And I think I blew out my voice, not when I was talking, like the message part, but only at the very end when I was screaming at the screen. If you were here, I was screaming at the little bee, and I'm like, "You're dead!" And so I was like, "Yeah!" And it was, it was dramatic. It made people laugh. Then when I got home, I'm like, "Hello, hello." It was really bad. So I'm going to try my best to get through this. But today we are starting a brand new series. Brand new. Brand new. Right? Brand new. So just to get a kind of intro to this whole thing, I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I know the answer, hopefully. I'm going to guess that most people are going to answer the same way, but here's the question. How many of you would like to live a life with less frustration? Yeah, I'm just getting started. Hold on, okay. Less frustration, less fatigue, less expenses, less anxiety, and last, man, all right. I'm just going to make a bunch of lists of bad things. Amen, brother. Less anxiety, and last one, less conflict in your life. Who wants to live a life like that? Yeah, right? That's what I'm talking about. And, some of you might identify with one more than the other. There's, maybe your life is more frustrating than fatigue. Maybe you're like, Tuan, who has the body of a warrior. And so he doesn't get fatigued, so that's fine. I just looked at Tuan, that's why, sorry. Anyway, or maybe your life is a lot of expenses and not so much on the frustration part, but there's no way you're broke and not frustrated. That's impossible, right? But how do we do it? How do we live a life minus all those things? It's simple, okay? Don't have kids. Okay? So, I am a dad. I have a 5-year-old daughter named Sarah and a 1-year-old fire breaker, alarm puller, Jaden. And he's awesome. He's crazy, but he's awesome. Evelyn actually just texted me saying that, oh, by the way, good news, he found out how to climb out of his crib. That's great. Don't have kids. Just don't. If you're thinking about getting married, that's a good step. But don't have kids. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, here's the thing. A few weeks ago, Evelyn had to go to some conference to do some training for her job and stuff as a teacher. And she says, hey, sweetie, the conference is in Orlando. I'm like, oh, cool. So you want to go up and maybe rent a room and then maybe go to Disney or something, and then when you're done with the conference, we can hang out and all that? It's like, no, the conference is all day, and they have to still go to school and all that, so you're going to have to watch the kids by yourself without me. Yeah, single dad, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, so what is it, conferences are usually 1-2 days and then whatever, no, this is a 4-day thing. You're going to be with the kids for 3.5, 4 days by yourself. And I'm like, okay, shouldn't be a big deal, So I'm like, all right. And here's the thing about when you have kids, there are days, there's this kind of you're on this little seesaw, I guess, or pendulum or whatever, balance beam, I don't know what you're going to call it. Anyway, some days you feel man, you're so proud. You see your kids and they're acting the way they're supposed to act, like normal humans, they're kind to one another, they're sharing, they're not fighting with each other, and it's oh man, and you feel like a proud parent, that's because of me. I taught you that, don't bite, don't hit, don't body slam your brother into the, you're doing a great job, and you just feel like the best parent. They're just stellar kids, and you see other kids and you're like, look at my kids, my little trophies, huh? Yeah, that's great. On the other end, there's the other side, which is man, there's days that you wake up and you're going, why did I do this to myself, It's I am the worst parent on the planet. These kids are crazy. I'm so frustrated. So that's kind of the whole thing, right? So 3 or 4 days with these kids alone, I'm thinking, all right, I've got to figure out a way to do this. So what I noticed was that I am very different than Evelyn. I'm not a woman, that's for sure. But I'm doing breakfast in the morning, right? So I'm trying to figure, okay, I wake up, doing breakfast. I got them changed and all that, and I made them toast. I asked them, do you want toast? And they're like, yes, papi. I'm like, okay, great. Toast. I could do toast. I remember we talked about last week, I'm not good in the kitchen. I could do toast, usually burn it, but I try my best. So I put it in, I'm watching it. It's good. I put the butter on it, and I give it to them, and they won't eat it. And I'm like, you said you wanted toast. Like, yeah, but this isn't the way mommy does it. I'm like, I know, but I'm not mommy, okay? Eat your toast, you know? And they're like, you said you wanted toast. Like, well, mommy cuts the crust off and whatever. I'm like, crust is food. We don't waste food in this house. Eat your toast. Like, but the toast, it doesn't take, doesn't matter what you say, you end up cutting the crust off, and I'm cutting the crust off. I eat the crust, you know? I give it to them, I'm like, eat your toast. It's like, well, mommy usually gives us a glass of milk with it. Okay. I grab a cup of milk, okay, I put it in, it's like, no, papi, my Anna and Elsa cup. That's the cup I drink, and she looks at me like, she's like, and if you know Sarah, this is not going to surprise you. She goes, are you serious right now? You know? You know, and I'm like, come on, you know? And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want for lunch? Oh, I want a sandwich. Okay, I made a sandwich. Like, no, and the next 3 or 4 days were just ruthless, okay? I was like, okay, and at one point I'm just like, I'm not mommy, you know? Give me a break. I'm just trying my best, you know? And in the middle of all this stuff, they're fighting, they're poking at each other, like, all this stuff, whatever. They break a thing. I'm like, okay, I got to fix that, whatever. And of course, Evelyn calls. And I'm like, hello? Hey, sweetie, how are you? I miss you. I miss you too, baby. You know, how's everything going? Oh, everything's great. They're fed, they're changed, they're about to go to sleep. Oh, cool, did they eat breakfast? I'm like, yes, they ate breakfast. But they wanted me to eat them toast. Cool, did you cut off the crust? I'm like, yes, I learned that I had to cut off the crust, yeah. And what about the Anna and Elsa cup? I'm like, yeah, I learned all about the Anna and Elsa cup. Got it, you know, like all this stuff. And it's just like, man, it's just crazy. I hang up, and then they're breaking something, they're hanging off the wall, like they're about to break their heads open, and I'm just like, okay, I got to figure this out. And the only thing I can do is kind of bribe them with like cartoons and cookies. That's all I can do. I was like, okay, listen, if you just behave good, you can have whatever you want. Just please, stop breaking things, stop punching her in the face, just please, you know? And I'm thinking, like, Evelyn does this all day, almost every day. She takes care of these kids. I'm just like, I need to survive this. I've got to, like, show up here. Like, Dad can do this. But, man, honestly, I felt terrible. Like, at one point, they're all asleep at one point. One person wants to go to sleep, the other person doesn't want to go to sleep, and he gets back up, and then she gets back up, then she pees in the bed, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to change the bed, and I'm doing this all by myself, and I'm thinking, like, they're all asleep. I'm in my couch, in my living room, like at, like, you know, 7, 8 o'clock at night, staring at the wall, just like, George, you're the worst dad ever. You know, like seriously, I was just like, I was going in that black hole, like that whole self-doubt, you know, insecurity thing. I was just like, what do I even bring to the table here? You know, like, why is Evelyn still with me? Like, I don't do anything. Like, this is crazy. Like, she has everything down to a system, and I'm like, and I'm just comparing. I'm just doing like, she does this, she does that, she goes to school, she works at the church, she works at the preschool thing, she does this, she cooks, she cleans, she does, what do I do? And I'm like, just like, what in the world, you know? And so she gets back home, and I'm like, I'm so glad you're here, because honestly, if I died tomorrow, and this is serious, I told this to her, if I died tomorrow, these kids would be sad, but they'd be so glad that they still have mommy to cook for them, you know? Because I don't know what dad does, you know, except like wrestle and make them, you know, cookies and cartoons or whatever. You know, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, I was feeling so frustrated, so over my head, so overwhelmed. Why? Because I was comparing. I was comparing myself as a dad to Supermom, my wife, Evelyn. And here's the thing, I was comparing her to me, and that's just a recipe for disaster. You know why? Because we all have different callings in life. God has called me to be a pastor. What does that mean? That means I deal with people and things all the time, and chaos and very just crazy, sensitive moments that nobody wants to walk into. Nobody wants to walk into an emergency room when your 9-year-old daughter just passed away. I'm the guy, right? Nobody wants to do that type of stuff. Ministry is hard. But I remember God just telling me, like, you're probably going to be doing this, and I want you to do it. You know, Evelyn has been called, there is no doubt in my brain, to be these kids' mom when I'm not around, when I'm at a hospital visit, or I'm at doing a funeral or wedding or whatnot. And she's been called to do that. And see, I just got to get out of her way. You know, I don't have to worry about comparing myself to her or whatnot. I just have to know that she has it all under control, and that's great. And God has called me to do something completely different. But here's the thing. We compare ourselves to everything, don't we? I mean, I don't think there's a single person in this room that can tell me today, right now, that you don't compare anything in life. It's impossible, right? Think about it. You go to Publix and you buy bananas. Oh boy. I don't know if it takes you 3 hours, but it takes me 3 hours. Okay? Well, this one's really green, so I'm not going to eat that. This one, no, that's going to last like 10 hours max. It has the spots already, and that's not good. These are like kind of yellow and green, so maybe that'll give me a couple weeks. No, a couple weeks, yeah, right. You know, right? And we're comparing, and this is ridiculous. I'm talking about bananas here. But the problem is we compare everything, don't we? Think about it. We do it all the time. You walk into somebody's house for the first time. What do? Compare. Compare what? Anything. You walk in, you go, my house doesn't smell like this. Right? Or the opposite. You walk in and you're, oh, these are nice floors. Wow, look at that TV. Man, Fortnite on that TV looks amazing. I wish I had that TV. What do they do for a living? Wow. Sell drugs for sure. You know, like, right? You know, it's natural. I mean, maybe they do sell drugs. I don't know. But you walk by somebody. Girls, come on now. You're the comparison queens, okay? Like, you see somebody in the mall and you're like, wow, they actually bought that. That's amazing. Oh, wow, somebody doesn't know how to do eyeliner. Okay, you know. Are those supposed to be eyebrows? Because that's interesting. You guys are ruthless. Don't give me that, okay? I know. Listen, guys' bathrooms and girl bathrooms, I know this is really random, but they're totally different worlds. Guys' bathrooms, you don't talk. No eye contact. And you walk out. Girls, like, I know, did you believe that? I can't believe it. And you walk out, hey, and you know, like, comparison queens, okay? Women, oh man, you guys are hardcore. You know, what about hair? Oh man, you want to talk about comparison. How many times do I look at somebody going, I wish I had your hair? Fernando. One of the few times I'm going to compliment you, okay? I have like anti-volume, you have volume. It's pretty awesome, you know? But that's what we do. But here's the thing. Here's what Galatians 6 says. So it'll be on your screen. It'll say, let everyone be sure that he is doing his very best. For then he will have the personal satisfaction of work well done and won't need to compare himself with someone else. See, it's telling us that it's just not wise to compare ourselves, because we're going to end up being frustrated. We're going to end up being fatigued. We're going to end up being surrounded by drama, right? Just like I was, that skinny dad, right? Me, just sitting around trying to figure out, like, what in the world? I'm the worst dad ever, right? But maybe God is making you different than someone else. Maybe God has made you very unique, unlike someone else. And I believe that. Because, man, let me tell you, it wasn't until recently when I became a pastor and all that I knew what my calling in life was. I was roaming around your age, okay, some of your ages. I mean, you know, it's a big, from 18 to 30, right? But when I was 20, 21, 22, 25, 26, I had no idea what I was going to do. So what I do, I just walk around and just kind of like try to figure stuff out, and I would compare my life to others. So I'm like, okay, well, what are 24-year-olds doing? We're going to the club, getting drunk. Okay, so I guess that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's what I did. See how that works? That's not good. But if I had no reference, I'm like, all right, I'm going to compare myself to my friends, and that's what they're doing. That's how they cope with their frustration. That's how they cope with heartbreak. That's how they cope with the realities and the frustrations of life. I guess that's what life looks like. So we jump on the bandwagon and do that. And then we end up heartbroken, frustrated, all of that. And that's what comparison does, right? So here's what God warns us about with the foolishness of comparing yourself with somebody else. 2 Corinthians says this, "For we dare not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who commend themselves, right? But they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. You see, next, I believe that you guys want to be wise because for some reason on a Tuesday night, I don't think you came here for the pizza, even though Papa John's is pretty awesome. I don't think you came here for box ball, even though that gets very intense sometimes, right? I definitely don't think you came for, specifically to hear me talk, but I think you're here because you want God to show you something. And I think you're here because you believe that the Word of God has power. You believe that if you draw near to God, He'll draw near to you, and He'll help you in whatever situation that you're in at this very moment, in this season of your life. And that, I commend you on, because when I was your age, I was nowhere near a place like this, which is probably why I have the beautiful track record of destroying people's lives back in the day, as far as heartbreak and all that stuff. So you're already here because you're expecting God to show you something, but at the same time, while you were here, while you were out there and all that, you can't help but compare. You start comparing stuff. Even in here, while you're talking to me, looking at me, you're probably thinking like, why is he dressed like that, right? Or whatever, Maybe you're not. I'm not really that fashionable, whatever, right? But here's the problem. Comparison always leads to envy. And on the first point or whatever, it's that every time that you compare, you're going to fall guilty to envy. Think about it. There is always somebody in this world that does something better than you. That sucks, right? When I was trying to be a drummer, like a professional drummer and all that, I practiced. I wouldn't have girlfriends, okay? I would just practice drums. I had this goal. I'm going to be a professional drummer and all that. And I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And one of the things that I always told myself was like, if I don't practice today, someone else out there is. Right? And maybe for you, it's not drums. Maybe for you, it's like the way you study, what career you want to be. If you're not going to give your all and study and do the best that you can to be the best lawyer, doctor, nurse, teacher, whatever, then that just means that somebody else is paying the same tuition as you, but taking it a little bit more seriously, is doing it. And eventually, someone's going to outwin the other, right? And so you're always going to find somebody that's going to do a better job than you. It's just the way it is. You're going to always start asking God, man, where's my man at, man? Where's my lady at? We do that all the time. Look at, how does that guy's so ugly. How does he got a lady? Look at this. Come on. You gave him a girl and you can't give me, come on, man. Right? But we compare. It's like, God, can't you see they're living in relational paradise? Come on. While I'm drowning in the deepest pit of quicksand in the middle of the deserted pond that people keep telling me there's plenty of fish to fish from, right? Someone said it, maybe not like that. That was pretty awesome. I gotta tattoo that to my back. The deepest pit of quicksand in the middle of the deserted pond that people said there was plenty of fish in. That's pretty awesome. Right? But we compare. Sorry. We compare. We're going to find out that, someone's going to do a better job. We're going to compare our jobs, our cars, our shoes, the Yeezys and the Jordans and the Air Force, blah, 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 and then whatever. Skinny jeans, are they ripped or not? George, why aren't you ripped? Because I actually appreciate taking care of my clothes. Thank you very much. Right? No, but it's not cool. Yeah, I don't really care. Right? That's what happens when you live a life with trying not to compare, right? But here's the thing. Here's the dangerous part. Comparing physical things and things, that's not really that important. Okay, fine, I guess it is if you make it an obsession. But some of us, you have to be very careful because some of us start comparing our testimonies to one another. And that's a dangerous place to be. Somehow, we think that we can start comparing and telling God, why are you doing so much in that person's life? And where are you in my life? God, how come you keep blessing them with this, with that, with this? Look at them. They're like, I'm smarter than they are. I should be leading a growth group. I should be singing on stage. What's going on, God? Where are you at? Are you even here? Are you even care? It's a dangerous, dangerous place to be. To approach the throne of God with that much pride? Why? Because of envy, because of comparison. Comparison, that little comparison trap. Oh man, that will There are people like neighbors that will like fight all day about like who's got better Christmas ornaments and who's got better this, who's got the better lawn, who's got the better car. And it's just, you just see them more and more debt, more and more debt. And it's just like, wow, these people are going to literally just kill each other because they don't even see what they're doing. They're wasting all this money for no reason. But your testimony, my friends, that is priceless. God has given you a very specific story, and you stick with that story. You do not question the story. Yeah. I wish I could be like, I wish I could preach the way I hear some of these preachers preach. Like, man, I heard a message before preaching tonight, and I'm just kind of like, and what did I do? I'm preaching about comparison. I'm just like, I'm comparing myself to this guy. I'm just like, this guy's brilliant. He's young. His jeans are ripped. Maybe that's the key, right? And I'm like, this guy's so, maybe I just got to be like him, If you play basketball, you got to be like Mike, right? You got to be, maybe not Mike now, LeBron, I guess, whatever, somebody, right? Whatever. I'm not getting into that, right? But it's like culture's already kind of put that into your brain. Hey, I want to be like someone else. No, God's story isn't be like Mike. God's story is be you. Be exactly who God designed you to be. Because guess what? He did not make a mistake when he made you. With your flaws, with your imperfections, with your story has so much power, but sometimes we want somebody else's story to be our story. And that is not the way life works. It's not what God wants for you. You see, here's the thing. We want all these things. Here's what Ecclesiastes says. It is better to be satisfied with what you have than to be always wanting something or someone else. And that's just straight out of the word, right? And I am so guilty of this because I remember growing up as a kid, I don't know about you, but Christmas was like a big deal in my house. As a kid, I was just like, I couldn't sleep on the 24th. I would ask my mom, can I open one gift before? And she's like, no. And I'm like, please, no, And then I say it again, and the chancleta flies across my head, Cubans, whoopla, like, no, pa la cama, whatever, go to the bed. So I remember always opening up gifts and like, oh yeah, I got the Nintendo. Yes, the original Nintendo. I know, I'm old. Nintendo, 8 bits, yes, state of the art, right? And I opened up, and one day I got a microscope, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Oh, cool microscope, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom had this friend. Her name was Maida. That's like as Cuban as it gets. Well, I guess use Navy is pretty good, and use Lively, and Ukaskaskalivli, and whatever Lee you can get. Use Navy, use Army, U.S. Army. Anyway, that's what it was. So Maida, bless her heart, she always went out of her way to get me a gift. Always, and my brother as well. But since I was born, she would give me the same gift every single year. And like at first I was like, when I finally started getting kind of smart enough to realize like, wait a second, is this really gonna happen again this year? Every Christmas, there's Maida. She's like, oh, mi cielo, ¿cómo tú estás? Bien, bien. Mira, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. And I would open it up and I'm like, there's no way, And I would open it up and I'm like, it's the same thing. Oh my gosh, And you're probably wondering, what is it? And it's not a big deal. But she would give me 2 socks every year. Okay, but like, someone said I love socks. No, you don't love these socks, okay? These are like the socks that you get at like Valsan, I can't say the other name of the other place that you go to. You said it, not me, right? It's a place that you go to, where you can buy 30 socks for like about 10 cents, there they are. Yes, those are it. And what I loved about them is that they were all color-coded for like the day of the week and stuff, so you can like know, like, hey, these are my Wednesday socks, and they were like up to here, But man, I remember seeing my brother, on the other hand, get all these cool gifts. He'd be the one to get Cool Water cologne. I'm like, I don't want Cool Water cologne. Anybody ever heard of Cool Water cologne in this place? One day, yeah. All right, Mike. The vintage is, let's try. We just got to say it together. Anyway, Cool Water. Do yourself a favor. Go to Navarro. Okay. Ask them to get a test of Cool Water cologne. That was the stuff. Okay. Like if you wanted a date, you go, psh, psh, and, smell, you know, in the cartoons, it's like, hey, come here, you know, like it smells terrible. It smells terrible. It smells terrible. But back then, it was all we had. It was like, man, Cool Water, Fahrenheit, Jupe, you know, all these horrible smelling colognes. But it was, listen, I was like 8 years old. I needed to smell like something. Where am I going with all this? I remember looking at my brother. He would always get all these cool gifts. I would look at all my friends. They would get all these cool gifts. And I would get socks over and over and over. And like my dad would give other people gifts, and they were awesome gifts. And I'm like, why do I always get stuck with socks? And I remember one time I told her, okay? I told them, like, why do you always get me socks? I have enough socks. I want something cool. I mean, dude, you can only imagine my mom like, prepárate, voy a darte un trompazo. Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, I was always getting myself into trouble with my mouth, obviously. But I remember telling her that, and she's like, well, you know, I get you socks because that's the only thing I could afford. You know, I get you socks because I figured I'd rather give you something than to show up empty-handed. You know, your mom is my best friend for the last 45 years or whatever, and you're like a son to me, and all I can get you is socks. So I'm sorry it's not as cool as that, and this and that and that, but I hope you like your socks. And dude, she gave me socks until I was like 27 years old, you know? And every Christmas after that, I remember telling her, I'm like, thank you for the socks. I really needed them, you know? And there just comes a moment, guys, in your life where you've got to kind of be content, you know? You've got to just realize that, you know, what you've got right now, even though it's not perfect, even though it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be, you should just be happy where you're at. Listen, you know how awesome it is that you're here in a place like this? I mean, look around you. Understand, most churches don't look like this. Most churches are meeting underground in some random place in China where they're trying to get away from getting persecuted just because they want to be able to read God's word. That's what being hungry looks like for God's word, right? That's what being content with. I just want to read some word. Oh, please let me be able to read one page. Just give me one page. And we have it on our phones. We have it anywhere you want. You know? Be content. There's no way you can ever be content with what God has given you if you're always looking and comparing and wondering why you don't have all this stuff. You know, what I wrote in my notes was, we have to learn how to admire without having to acquire everything in life. You can admire things. There's nothing wrong with that. You could want things, right? God gave us desire. There's nothing wrong with desire. But it doesn't mean that you have to have everything. It doesn't mean that, oh man, I just gotta have every single version of the iPhone 45, 17Z, 76, whatever dash, whatever they're gonna figure out, you know? My car, it gets me from point A to point B, but it's a little old, so I'm gonna get a new car anyway. You know, we're just in this constant thing, like, oh no, but look, he's got the new this, he's got this, she's got that. Oh, look at that purse, look at that. It's like, why are we so scatterbrained when God is telling you, like, man, I've given you every single thing you've ever needed and beyond that. Give us today our daily bread, not the bread factory, right? He trusts you with the little so that way he can see that, hey, maybe later I can trust you with a lot. But man, if we're in the middle of comparing all this stuff, I mean, he's never going to have a chance to bless you. We're going to be in the rat race trying to figure out who's going to look cooler with what ripped pants and blah, 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 and whatever, and all this stuff. And that's the problem with desire. We start coveting and all that. And I don't know if you guys remember, but coveting is one of the commandments. And I put it, it's up there, Exodus. It says, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. That's a commandment. But all we do is Instagram. Oh, snap, I'm going there. I know. I was waiting for it, George, right? Instagram, man, so deadly to society, so deadly to your walk with Christ. And I get it. There's some funny people like in this room will show me some stuff, and I'm like, bro, okay, Pastor, this is really messed up, but it's really funny. That's always a warning. Like, I'm gonna show this to the pastor, but hey, I just wanted you to know this is not a reflection on me and my walk with Christ, but I mean, it's really funny. You know, and I'll watch it. I'm like, okay, it's pretty hilarious. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Entertainment, being happy, fun, laughing, okay, cool. Problem is the other side, the ugly side of all the social media nonsense, which is like How come she liked his picture and not mine? How come she commented on his picture and not mine? How come they keep posting pictures without me? And how come, why, how, why, who cares? That's what God is telling you. God is telling you, who in the world cares about what a digital platform and a fake heart and a whatever? I want to give you a real heart in Jesus. I want to give you a real faith. I want to give you something that you can hold on to. But you're too busy worried about whether Fulana liked your picture of your eggs Benedicts from First Watch last week. It's a great picture. I take great pictures of food too. I get it. But I'm as guilty as anybody else. I post my pictures of my awesome burger expecting, dude, where do you find these places? You know, bro, look at this drool, all that stuff, you know. But desire, there's nothing wrong with desire. When desire comes in your life, real desire, not comparison, not the desire of other things. When desire comes, see, that's when you can become more like Christ, when you have a desire to become more like Christ. When you want to be a more loving person and you desire to show people more love, then you can accomplish those things because of that same desire, that wanting other people's stuff and whatever. If we want more of God and all of that, oh man, you can break down anything you want. I mean, that's like, you're unstoppable. But desire can turn bad when it's uncontrolled, and it can become the root of never-ending comparison in your life. And all I'm telling you is this: you're not going to come to heaven, and you're not going to be judged in heaven based off of what someone else did, or what someone else had, or how someone else lived. When you get to heaven, God is going to look at you and ask you, why didn't you live like you? I made you. I thought you were a masterpiece. You thought you were a mistake. You're not. You're not. You're not going to get to heaven and they're not going to judge you based off of somebody else's life. They're going to look at you and go, what did you do with the time you had here? And I pray it's not comparing. I pray it's not liking and whatever and commenting, whatever. I pray that it's leaning into God's word, asking him the tough questions. Who the heck am I? And what do you want me to do? You know what he's going to do? He's going to answer you. 1 Peter, and we'll close with this. It says, for this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps. Jesus didn't have time to compare his life to those around him. You know why? Because he was too busy healing them. He was too busy giving them hope, grace, forgiveness, mercy, the stuff that they were starving for. He didn't have time to compare if somebody else on the block was healing as cool as he was. For what? He was too busy. He couldn't stop. He knew it would be foolish because everything in this world is going to fade away. It's all temporary. So the time he had on earth, he took every second of that and didn't worry about what anybody else thought, the Pharisees of this or that. No, I'm here on my Father's business. I'm here to heal, save, and that's it. So my encouragement to you guys, at this stage in life, guys, just right here, look straight ahead at what you have. Look around you and look what you have in your hands. Look at your life. You're so blessed. You're so blessed. You really are. But comparison will make you feel like you're just drowning. You're so thirsty. You need more of someone else. No, you just need more of God, more of Jesus, and he'll take care of the rest. Amen? Let's pray. Father, I thank you so much, God, that you didn't have time to compare. I think about Judges. I think about the book of Judges, that whole sin cycle, the idea of Israel coming back to you, but then they would worship other gods and all this stuff. And God, you don't have time to compare yourself to other gods because there are no other gods. You're the only one. You're the only one that came to us. You're the only one that sacrificed for us. And you sacrificed for us so that we wouldn't live a life of comparison and envy, but instead a life of freedom, a life that glorifies you, honors you, and looks like your son, God. And I just pray right now, God, for every single person in this room, whatever it is that they're going through, you know, whatever insecurity, whatever doubt they might have, whatever comparison they're kind of trapped in the middle of right now, God, would you open their eyes to see things the way you do, God, to see how blessed they are, how beautiful they are, God. God, you've made masterpieces in this room. I see them all over the place, God. And God, I just pray that no one in this room would ever think that they were a mistake. They are so valued by you, God, and I pray that they would find that value in you and you alone. So we're grateful that we have a place like this. We're grateful that we have your word and your presence in this place, God. Help us tonight to have some real conversations, to answer some questions, and be real with one another, so that we can walk out into this world and not worry about what car someone's driving. But instead, what we should be worried about is that they even know who your son is. So God, use these people in this room right now for your kingdom's sake. In Jesus' name, amen.
We hope that you enjoyed the message, and we would love to connect with you. Please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Calvary Next. You can also visit our website, nextyoungadults.com. God bless you.